Hi, today we are going to start with chapter number 10, that is about market failure. In this particular chapter, we would be covering the meaning of market failure, the price regulation, and we will discuss the various price regulation and market structure. We'll try to explain you the behavior of finance in the terms of firms in response to price regulation. So let's get started. First, we'll try to understand what do you mean by a market failure. A market failure basically refers to the inefficient distribution of goods and services in the free market. In a typical free market, the prices of goods and services are determined by the forces of demand and supply, and any change in one of the forces would result in a price change and a corresponding change in other forces. The change leads to price equilibrium. I am sure by this time you all know what is the meaning of equilibrium, where demand and supply is equal at a particular point of price. Market failure occurs mostly when prices mechanism fails to allocate the resources efficiently or when the price mechanism fails to function altogether. Moreover, the market performs inefficiently when this kind of imbalances or misallocation happens. Either the prices becomes too high or the prices becomes too low, depending on the demand and supply market forces that plays an important role in determining the price. This overall, I would say, these causes overconsumption and underconsumption of certain goods. Market failure can either be a partial, complete, or so. So when I say the market failure is complete, when there is no supply for goods demanded and this result in missing market. When I say partial failure, it means when the market is still functioning but demand does not or do not be equal to the supply, which causes the price of goods and services to be wrongly set. So basically, in short, market failure is caused by an inefficient allocation of resources which would prevent demand and market curve from meeting its equilibrium point. In such market failure, it has to be very much evident that it would occur when there is a state of disequilibrium in the market due to market distortion. It takes place when the quantity of goods and services supplied is not equal to the quantity and goods and services demanded. And we all know by this time, isn't it, that what exactly an equilibrium and disequilibrium is and what is the difference between it? So this is a scenario wherein you will get a disequilibrium kind of a position due to market distortion. Some of the distortion that may affect the free market may include monopoly power, price limit, minimum wage requirement, and government regulation. Now these are some of the, I would say, factors that may be causing the market failure to occur, what we are going to deal in details in the coming slides. We must be aware that it is impossible for markets to be perfect, as various factors can cause a market failure. In other words, these factors are the causes of unequal distribution or allocation of resources in a free market. Let's explore this more after a certain period of time and see what are the causes of market failure. So basically, there are 4 causes which has been highlighted here. So the first one is externalities, the second one is public goods, The third one is asymmetrical information, and the fourth one is imperfect competition. Let's see one by one in details what exactly these failures are and why these failures leads to a market distortion or a market failure. The first one is externalities. This can be defined as an impact of production and consumption of products affecting the third party. Now, third party is one who is neither a consumer nor a producer of a product. So, hence, when I said it is an impact of production and consumption of products affecting the third party, here this is what externality would be carried away. Now, externalities can either be a positive one or it could be a negative one. It is also called as spillover or neighborhood effect. And externalities thus refers to the cost or benefit resulting from the transaction that affects the third party that did not decide to be associated with the benefit or cost. Hence, I told you that the effect could be very good or it could have a negative impact as well. Both the things can be possible. When I say a positive impact or a positive externalities, it provides a positive effect to the third party. So, every time when we are talking about externalities, you should know it is about the third party and the impact on them. For example, providing good public education mainly benefits student, but the benefits of this public good will spill over the whole society, though they are not directly related to the whole process of getting education, but yes, as a society it would be an enrichment for them even. The external cost or benefits is not reflected in the final cost or benefit, and therefore the economists generally view externalities as a serious problem that makes market inefficient and leading to the causes of market failure. The externalities are the main catalyst that leads to the tragedy of common goods or services that might happen. Now, the primary cause of the externalities is, we can say, poorly defined property rights. The ambiguous ownership of certain things may create a situation when some market agent starts to consume or produce more while the part of the cost or benefits inherent or received by an underrelated parties. Environmental items including air, water, wildlife are the most common example of things with poorly defined property rights. Since we have seen a bit of an introduction on what exactly a positive externality is, that is, we have discussed that the third party would be receiving a positive impact, isn't it? Now we are going to see what is a negative externalities here. Now, a negative externality is a negative effect resulting from the consumption of a product and the result in the negative impact on the third party. For example, even though cigarette smoking is primarily harmful for the smoker, we all know it also causes a negative health impact on people around the person who is smoking. So, isn't it a negative impact that is being given though you are not involved directly here? Hence, you are the third party in this case. So, a negative externality is the negative consequence of an economic activity experienced by an unrelated third party. The majority of externalities are negative. Some negative externalities, such as a different kind of environmental pollution, are especially harmful due to their significant adverse effect. Negative externalities are divided into production and consumption externalities. Now let's discuss few examples of negative externalities. Let's take an example of air pollution. A factory burns fossil fuel to produce goods. The people living in nearby area and the workers of the factory would suffer from deteriorating air quality and thus causing lot of breathing problems and other complications might arise. That is one of the easiest example I could cite here for a negative externalities or negative production externality. The second one could be, let's say, water pollution. A tanker spills oil, destroying the wildlife in the sea and affecting the people living in the coastal area. Again, in these cases, you can see the negative impact which is seen, and that is impacting the parties or the people who are nearby, though they are not directly involved in the entire process. The third one is noise pollution. People living near a large airport, or let's say if metro construction is going around, so the area near to those places, people do experience noise level which is far more higher, and hence it is again a bad impact or a negative impact which is seen here. Traffic congestion. Okay, now since here we have discussed about the negative production externalities, we are going to discuss the negative consumption externalities. So let's say a passive smoking. So smoking result in negative effect not only to the health of the smoker but also the people around them that we have discussed. It is also one of the good example that we can cite in these cases. Also traffic congestion. The more people that use car on road, the heavier would be the traffic congestion, and it would be more bad in terms of health and other things. Let's discuss more about positive externalities now with some examples and explanation on it further. Now, when I say positive externalities, we have already discussed that it gives a positive impact, or it is a benefit from an economic activity which is experienced by an unrelated third party. Now, despite the benefits of economic activity that involves positive externalities, the externality also creates market inefficiency. Now, the positive externalities can also be distinguished as production and consumption. So, we have seen the production side of it, and we have also covered the consumption side of it in negative externalities as well. Now, positive production externalities would include, let's say, infrastructural development. So, let's say building a subway station in some remote neighborhood may benefit a real estate agent who transact properties in that area. You must be knowing why, isn't it? Because the real estate prices would likely to increase due to a better accessibility, and the agent would be able to earn a higher commission on this because that area would grow and hence the prices would be, higher. The second could be R&D activities. So a company that discovers a new technology as a result of R&D activities would create a positive impact, or it would give benefits that would help the society as a whole. Now, let's see the positive consumption externalities. Let's take an example of individual education. The increased level of individuals' education can also raise economic productivity and can reduce unemployability level, I would say. Why? We all know, because if an individual grow, an individual would grow the society, and the society would grow as nation, and the nation would grow as world at large. So everything starts from individual and it goes to a larger level of it. So hence, if an individual education is getting better, definitely it would add on to the economic productivity and it would reduce automatically the unemployability level in the country. The second one in positive consumption externality example could be vaccination. Benefits not only the person vaccinated but other people in the community, because the probability of being infected would decrease. Hence, it's a very good initiative which is taken by the government or any other NGOs or agents nearby. Because if you are healthy, automatically the environment becomes healthy, because the chances of getting infected, the third party infection would decrease, and hence the environment around you or the surrounding would be better than before. Due to adverse effect of both negative and positive externality on market efficiency, economists and policymakers mostly strive to address the problem. The internalization of the externality is basically a process of adopting policy that would limit the effect of externality on unrelated parties. Generally, the internalization is achieved through government intervention. Possible solution would include, let's say, defining property rights. Now, a strict definition of property rights can limit the influence of economic activity or unrelated parties. However, it is not always a viable option, since the ownership of the particular thing, let's say air or water, cannot be counted or can be accounted for. Let's say the second example could be taxes. So a government may impose taxes on goods and services that creates an externality. Now, the taxes would discourage activities that impose cost on unrelated parties. The next one could be subsidies. So what happens? A government can also provide subsidies to stimulate certain activities. Now, the subsidies are commonly used to increase consumption of goods with positive externalities. Now we will see public goods as one of the factors causing externalities as a whole. Thank you.